Wild Card Boxing Club, Hollywood, California, September 2009. The afternoon sun streams through dusty windows, illuminating floating chalk dust and the rhythmic thud of heavy bags. Manny Pacquiao, 5'5", of pure explosive energy, is working the speed bag with surgical precision. Each hit creates a hypnotic rhythm, rat-tat-tat-tat. He's 3 weeks out from his fight with Miguel Cotto, the biggest bout of his career. But in 3 minutes, a 6'5" heavyweight will say something that changes everything forever. The wild card is Freddie Roach's kingdom. Faded photos of champions line the walls. The smell of sweat and liniment hangs in the air like incense. This isn't a fancy gym with chrome equipment and mirrors. This is a working-class temple where fighters come to bleed, sweat, and transform themselves into warriors. Manny moves like liquid lightning around the gym. At 30 years old, he's already conquered 6 weight divisions, but today he's preparing to face Miguel Cotto for the WBO welterweight title, a weight class many said he was too small to compete in. But Manny has always been too small. Too small for flyweight when he started, too small for featherweight, too small for lightweight. Yet somehow, impossibly, he keeps winning, keeps proving that size means nothing when you have the heart of a giant. The intruder at 3:47 p.m., the gym's atmosphere changes. The front door opens hard, and in walks Marcus the Mountain Thompson, 6'5", 245 pounds of granite-hard heavyweight, fresh off a knockout victory that's been playing on ESPN all week. His entourage follows, manager, trainer, 2 sparring partners, all of them carrying themselves like they own every room they enter. Marcus isn't here by accident. Word around Hollywood is that he's been talking, saying things about smaller fighters, about how size still matters in boxing, about how guys like Pacquiao succeed only because they avoid real competition their own size. Freddie Roach notices immediately. He's been training champions for decades, can sense trouble walking through his door. "Can I help you?" Freddie asks, stepping forward. Marcus grins, that confident smile of a man who's never been hurt in the ring. "Just wanted to check out the famous wild card, see what all the fuss is about." His eyes scan the gym, taking in the modest equipment, the fighters grinding through their training. When his gaze lands on Manny, still working the speed bag, the grin widens. "That's the great Manny Pacquiao," Marcus says, loud enough for everyone to hear. Smaller than he looks on TV. The gym doesn't go silent. Fighters at the wild card have seen every kind of disrespect, but there's a shift, a tension that wasn't there before. Manny continues working the speed bag, hasn't acknowledged Marcus at all. Rat-tat-tat-tat, perfect rhythm, perfect focus. Marcus walks closer, his massive frame casting a shadow over Manny's workout space. "Hey, Pac-Man," he calls out. Manny stops the bag with one glove, turns to face the heavyweight. No expression, just those dark eyes taking everything in. "I'm Marcus Thompson. You've probably seen me on SportsCenter last week. Knocked out Jimmy Rodriguez in the 3rd. Manny nods politely. "Congratulations." "You know," Marcus continues, his voice carrying across the gym, "I've been watching your fights. Impressive stuff for a little guy. But I always wondered something. Here it comes." Freddie thinks, whatever this man came here to say, "I wondered if you ever faced someone who could really hit back. I mean really hit. Not these welterweights and junior middleweights, but someone with real power." Manny's expression doesn't change. "Power comes in many forms." Marcus laughs. "Maybe, but physics is physics, right? Mass times velocity equals force. More mass, more force. Basic science." One of Marcus's sparring partners chuckles. A few other fighters in the gym start paying attention. "You think size doesn't matter?" Marcus asks. "I think heart matters more." Manny replies quietly. "Heart." Marcus repeats the word like it tastes funny. That's what small guys always say when they can't compete physically. Heart, technique, speed. But at the end of the day, when a real heavyweight connects, all that heart stops beating. The gym has gone quiet now. Even the other trainers have stopped what they're doing. Freddie steps forward. "Marcus, I think you've made your point." But Marcus isn't done. He's building to something, and everyone can feel it. "See, Manny, guys like you are impressive in your weight class, but you avoid guys like me for a reason. Small guys can't hit hard enough to hurt big guys. That's just reality." Manny looks at Marcus for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is calm, almost gentle. "You want to test your theory?" Marcus's eyes light up. "What do you mean? You think small guys can't hit hard? I think you're wrong. Would you like me to show you?" The challenge hangs in the air. Marcus came here to prove a point about size and power. Manny just offered to settle the debate directly. "You mean spar?" Marcus asks. "I mean one punch," Manny says simply. "You hold pads. I show you what small guy power feels like. If I can't hurt you, you're right. If I can, maybe you learn something." Marcus looks around the gym. Everyone's watching. His reputation, his whole philosophy about size and power is on the line. One punch, he confirms. One punch, and you think that'll prove something. Manny's expression doesn't change. We'll find out. Marcus calls over one of his trainers, a thick-set man named Eddie, who's holding focus mitts. Eddie, give me those pads. Eddie looks uncertain. Boss, you sure about this? It's one punch from a welterweight. How hard could it be? Eddie reluctantly hands over the mitts. Marcus slides them on, flexes his massive hands inside them. The gym forms a loose circle. Word has spread quickly. Manny Pacquiao is about to demonstrate his power against a heavyweight who thinks size is everything. Freddie approaches Manny. You sure about this? That's a big man. Manny nods, already visualizing. Size means nothing if you can't see what's coming. Marcus positions himself, holds up the mitts at chest level. He's braced, planted, using all 245 pounds as an anchor. Whenever you're ready, little man, he says with that same confident grin. Manny steps into range, loose, relaxed, hands at his sides. To Marcus, he looks impossibly small. The size difference is comical. A heavyweight versus a welterweight, a mountain versus a hill. But those who know boxing see something else. They see perfect balance, coiled energy, years of technique compressed into 170 Filipino fury. Left hook? Marcus asks. Right hand? What's your best shot? You'll know when it lands, Manny says quietly. For a moment, everything is still. Marcus braced behind the pads, confident in his size advantage. Manny measuring distance, seeing angles Marcus doesn't know exist. Then Manny moves. It's not the wind-up Marcus expects. No telegraphing, no obvious preparation. Manny's left hand travels maybe 8 inches, but it travels those inches faster than Marcus's eyes can track. The sound is explosive, not the typical pop of glove meeting pad, but something deeper, more violent, like a gunshot in the confined space of the gym. Marcus's eyes go wide. The impact travels through the pads, through his arms, straight into his chest and shoulders. His massive frame, planted and braced for the punch, absorbs every ounce of force. But it's not just force. It's precision. Manny's fist found the exact center of the pad, transferred energy with perfect efficiency. No wasted motion, no dissipated power, pure concentrated impact. Marcus stumbles backward 3 steps, his face a mask of shock and pain. His arms hang at his sides, the focus mitts dangling from numb hands. Jesus Christ, he whispers. The gym erupts. Fighters who've trained with Manny for years start laughing and cheering. They've seen this before, the moment someone underestimates Filipino power and learns the hard way. But Manny isn't celebrating. He's watching Marcus with genuine concern. You okay? He asks. Marcus is staring at his hands, flexing his fingers, trying to understand what just happened. The pads absorbed most of the impact, but his entire upper body feels like it was hit by a sledgehammer. How? He asks, looking up at Manny. How is that possible? Manny shrugs. Physics. Speed times technique times timing. Mass is only one part of the equation. Marcus looks at the focus mitts, then at his hands, then back at Manny. The confident grin is gone, replaced by something approaching awe. I felt that through 2 inches of padding and my arms, if that had been a bare knuckle to my chin. He doesn't finish the sentence. Doesn't need to. Freddie Roach has seen this transformation many times. A fighter walking into the wild card thinking they understand boxing, then witnessing something that changes their entire perspective. Size matters, Freddie says to Marcus, but it's not the only thing that matters. Technique can multiply force, speed can multiply power, and heart. He gestures toward Manny. Heart can multiply everything. Marcus pulls off the focus mitts, hands them back to Eddie. His whole demeanor has changed. The swagger, the certainty, the casual dismissal of smaller fighters, gone. Manny, he says quietly, I owe you an apology. Manny waves it off. No need. You came here with questions. Questions are good. Now you have answers. I was wrong. About small fighters, about power, about Marcus struggles for words. I thought I understood boxing, thought it was just about being bigger and stronger. Boxing is chess, Manny says. Size is only one piece on the board. You can win with pawns if you move them right. Marcus nods, still processing what happened. The request surprises everyone. Marcus Thompson, the confident heavyweight who walked in 30 minutes ago talking about physics and mass, is asking a welterweight to teach him. Manny smiles. Sure, but first you help me with something. Anything. Next time someone tells you small fighters can't compete, you remember this feeling. You remember that power comes from the heart, not just the body. For the next hour, Marcus Thompson gets a masterclass in boxing from one of the greatest fighters who ever lived. Manny shows him how footwork creates angles, how timing multiplies force, how perfect technique can overcome any physical disadvantage. Marcus, despite his size and strength, proves to be a humble student. He asks questions, tries to absorb every detail, begins to understand that boxing is far more complex than he'd ever imagined. "You know what my mistake was?" Marcus says during a break. "I thought boxing was about imposing your will through size, but it's really about problem solving, isn't it? Finding ways to win regardless of physical limitations." Manny nods. "Every opponent is a puzzle. Some are bigger puzzles, some are smaller, but there's always a solution if you look hard enough. And you've been solving bigger puzzles your whole career. I've been learning that size is just another obstacle, like southpaws, or distance fighters, or counterpunchers. You study the problem, find the solution, execute the plan." Marcus shakes his head in amazement. "I came here thinking I was educating you about reality. Turns out you've been living in a reality I didn't even know existed." As the session winds down, Marcus's entire team has been watching, learning alongside their fighter. They came to the wild card with one philosophy and leave with another. Marcus, his trainer Eddie, says, "Maybe we should rethink some things about your training." Marcus nods. "Everything. We need to rethink everything. I've been training like boxing is just controlled violence. But it's art, isn't it? Science and art combined." Manny overhears. "Violence is easy. Anyone can be violent. Boxing is about controlled power, precise application of force, strategic thinking under pressure. That's what separates boxers from brawlers." Before leaving, Marcus approaches Manny one last time. "I want you to know, what happened here today, it changed something in me. Not just about boxing, but about assumptions, about judging people based on what I see instead of what they can do." Manny extends his gloves to bump. "Best way to learn is to stay open. Keep asking questions, keep testing assumptions. That's how we all get better." Marcus returns the glove bump, then does something unexpected. He bows slightly, the way students bow to masters in martial arts. "Thank you, Professor Pacquiao." That evening, Marcus Thompson posts a video on social media, sitting in his hotel room, still processing the day's events. "I went to the wild card today thinking I was going to prove a point about size and power in boxing," he says to the camera. "Instead, I got educated. Manny Pacquiao hit focus mitts I was holding, and I understood something I'd never understood before." He pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Power isn't just about mass. It's about precision, timing, technique, and heart. Manny Pacquiao generates more force per pound than any fighter I've ever encountered. Size matters, but skill matters more." The video goes viral. Boxing fans share it thousands of times. Comments pour in from fighters who've had similar experiences, big men humbled by smaller fighters who understood boxing's deeper truths. 3 weeks later, Manny defeats Miguel Cotto by TKO in the 12th round, capturing his 7th world title in a different weight class. Marcus Thompson watches the fight from his training camp, studying every technique, every angle, every demonstration of how perfect skill can overcome physical disadvantage. Years later, Marcus Thompson becomes one of the most technical heavyweights in boxing. His style changes completely after that day at the wild card. Instead of relying purely on size and power, he develops footwork, timing, precision. He credits Manny Pacquiao with teaching him that boxing is not about being the biggest man in the room, but about being the smartest fighter in the ring. When asked about the encounter in interviews, Marcus always tells the same story. "I walked into the wild card thinking I understood boxing. 3 seconds later, Manny Pacquiao proved I didn't understand anything. Best education I ever received." For Manny, it was just another day at the gym. Another person who needed to learn that heart beats size, that technique trumps strength, that the greatest power comes not from the body, but from the soul of a fighter who refuses to be limited by other people's assumptions. The punch that changed Marcus Thompson lasted maybe half a second, but the lesson lasted a lifetime, because sometimes the most powerful statement you can make fits in the space of a single, perfectly placed blow, and sometimes the biggest men need the smallest fighters to teach them what true power really means.